Hey, welcome to, what is it, July 11th already, Select Board meeting of the Berlin Board of Select Board. See, I'll get that right. Let's see, meetings of the Berlin Select Board are generally recorded for the transmission on both the Berlin Cable Access Channel and YouTube. Your voice, your image, and your telephone number may be recorded. Let's see. I am sort of back a little bit, but I have read the agenda. Do we actually, I did not see the minutes in the folder or been emailed to us. We're just going to pass over that tonight.
Yeah, I didn't see them either.
Mary, did you do those late today or?
I thought I looked like.
I wasn't at that meeting. I gave you a shell for that meeting of minutes, a draft.
Yeah, I didn't take them. I didn't have time. So we'll have to pass on those for tonight.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
That's fine.
Is there correspondence?
The only couple of things I have that I want to mention are, first of all, I have heard back from Peter Hoffman, the chair of the Economic Development Committee. So they've received an updated quote and on the roadside sign, "Welcome to Berlin." And he has reviewed the agreement that the board has approved. So I plan on talking with him tomorrow about that. And then the other piece of correspondence is something that we actually anticipate. We've heard verbally from a concerned person, an abutter to the 1870 town hall, where there was a very active and late loud event at the 1870 over the weekend. So I have asked her to put all of her questions and comments in writing and to provide her telephone number in case we have any questions. And what I would expect is that the board may want to sit with Sandra at some point and review the use of the town hall contract to make sure that the town is adequately covered and users of the building understand that it's a residential neighborhood.
Okay. Looks like we only have department heads in the audience, correct?
Yep.
Peg. Peg had something she wanted to share with you, Margaret. So
But Peg's not going to speak because we know what Peg does. So, we'll just leave it at that.
It's all right, Margaret.
All right. So I'm going to take you.
So I just wanted to say that it doesn't seem like 3 whole years ago when 3 Berlin Select Board women stood up and said, 1, 2, 3, Margaret. And I think Scott had a little something to do with that too. Did you not? Weren't you on the?
I was on the interview committee.
Yeah. So she had a couple things that she wanted to share with you, so you will never forget Berlin.
Oh, I will never forget Berlin. I assure you. I actually have the framed Berlin map and the history of Berlin. So yes. Oh,
look there.
Is it a little?
Can you
is it
tell
a little more? Is
Peg?
it a little like time capsule treasure chest?
Yes, it's like
thing?
a time capsule.
Oh my. Oh, wait a second. Let me go on mute. Peg, you can take yourself off.
Yes, for people who are watching this remotely, Peg and Margaret are in the same building and trying their best to prevent feedback that will blow out the ears of people watching this either now or those of us participating or those watching later on.
Oh, very nice. I
Yes.
see.
So,
So there's a Berlin town blanket. There's a couple Berlin bicentennial postcards. There's a magnet. There's a couple Berlin pins. There's a Berlin cookbook. And I want you all to look very carefully at this photo because this is what the Bullard House
used to look like.
I remember what that used to look when it used to look like
Yep.
that.
So, and there's a mug in here, Margaret, too. It's in the box. It's a little Berlin Yeti. So no, we just wanted to get you something, as Chris said, so you don't forget the town of Berlin.
I promise I'm never going to forget the town of Berlin or my board members or my coworkers or the residents who have been so welcoming to the whole idea of a new town administrator, never mind just a new town administrator. And this is this is really bittersweet for me because it's not, I'm not just leaving Berlin and going somewhere. This is not one of those things. I'm calling it a career, and I'm just so honored. I look back over my 34 years and I have been blessed in my whole career to have dedicated my entire adult life essentially to public service. And I want to thank you for choosing me.
Well,
It's
I don't think we
just-
could have done any better.
Oh, thank you.
This is.
I've tried really hard to, yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And you'll all always hold a special place in my heart.
And you got to stay in touch.
I will.
Okay.
And again, for people who, because I think I forgot to say this, or we forgot to say this, right, tonight is the last select board meeting that Margaret will be attending. She has a couple weeks off. She has a couple of things after that she's going to wrap up that are already in progress, but nothing sort of new and all behind the scenes, so that
But if you continue
yeah.
remote, I could pop in as an audience attendee.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll be quiet, I promise. Oh, thank you so much, all of you. Really, thank you so much. I
Thank
just
you, Peg, for
appreciate it.
putting that all together for us.
Thanks,
Wonderful.
Meg, and be there and being there to sort of hand it to her in
Thank
person.
you.
I'm hoping to be able to stop down this week to say goodbye in person, and
I'll be here on Wednesday too. Well,
and so,
thank you again. It means an awful lot. Thank you so much.
And you have, I mean, we've learned from you. I'm sure you've learned things from us.
Mhm. Yeah, it really has. Yeah, I've seen us as a team working together, moving the town forward, all doing our part, and I pray that the town continues to move forward on this path and continues to grow and mature.
And
So
work together, right?
that's right.
That's right.
Mhm.
Okay, well,
Well,
thank
thank you
so
again.
much.
I'm
Onward.
sure we'll say more things as we go on, but we're gonna move Fred forward to give a department update. Change screens here.
Oh, I think he's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope he has a good connection.
Right, because I've been gone the last 2 weeks. I haven't had a chance to even start thinking about
Oh,
what it might be.
Good
Hey,
evening.
Brad.
Hi, Fred.
How are you?
Okay.
All
Oh,
right. I'll make it short. So we were lucky. We had one seasonal start early in the month, in June. He's been a big help. Since then, we've had a second one come on, so they're taking over all the mowing and trimming of the cemeteries in the ball fields. We were able to post all the job interviews for the 2 full-time positions here. One of them had accepted the offer and just started today. The second one, even though he went through and did all the paperwork, he backed out, said he wasn't ready to leave his current job. So hopefully, Margaret, I will have an interview for Wednesday, one more before you go. So we can try and backfill that position. We're able to get a brake job completed that has been ongoing for a while, but we finally had the time and got that done. The plow frames were removed from the CDL trucks. All the approved engine brake signs came in and they all got installed with one extra. And the conservation fence was installed up on Linden Street. We haven't gotten any feedback on it, so I hope it was
I'll give you some feedback right now that I've heard.
okay.
This is secondhand feedback, but it looks wonderful. It looks fantastic. And I think folks are really happy with it, Fred.
All right, that's kind of what I was hoping for, because I wanted to make sure that like it was the end. We shouldn't have to touch it again. But yeah, it went really good. The guy did a good job up there on it. So our Chapter 90 projects did get submitted. Both of them did get approved, along with the wrap contract. That was actually approved the day I submitted it, within a couple hours. Towards the end of the month, we had gotten some structures to replace a couple basins on Brigham Road. And the guy started with one this morning. I'm not sure if it got finished, but the other one should get done. The end of the month also brought up, we got some supplies for leftover money from a grant to give the gazebo a facelift. The plan is to have that done before school opens. So it'll be interesting. The one big thing that's really kind of going around, I think you guys have heard, is the mold issue up the Legion Hall. We had a representative from ServPro come out, and they did find moisture on the back wall. They were chalking it up to, there's a gable vent on the back that maybe the wind had blown the rain in over time and just kind of got that wall a little wet, and has since created the mold. There was nothing in the basement when she went down and did an inspection of it. So that's kind of a good thing right there. Well, I met with a guy from Maya that came out to assess what they thought the town was going to be able to cover. So he took some photos of his own and then set up a meeting with G's Environmental Services to come out. And I met with a guy named Ed Nowak. He came out on the 16th. He did mold samples and checked for lead paint. I haven't heard anything back from them or from Maya to see if anything was going to be done for it. We had a town resident request that Marlboro Pest Control change the bait that they're putting in the stations because I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong. Defalion, I think it is. It's been in the news. What it is the mice eat it and they go off. Then the owls eat it or eat the mouse. The hawks eat the mouse, and birds of prey are dying off because of it. So Marlboro Pest Control, they were very nice. We went through a couple different things back and forth. Carol from Conservation actually did some research on one alternative, and it was equally as bad. But we ended up settling on a material called Rad-X. It is a little bit more expensive, but it's a greener alternative to it, which will not harm the wildlife should they eat an infected rodent. So we'll see how that turns out. And that's all I have really for that month. I guess some bad news.
It's a little bit more expensive. You're still though saying, the impact on your total budget, it's tiny compared to what the highway department or the town of Berlin budget is, correct?
Oh, yes, definitely. It went up. We haven't seen a cost increase with Marlboro Pest Control in the lifetime that they have been servicing the community. So we can almost chalk it up to a little bit of that. So it went from, I believe it was $98 when they came out to $125.
Okay.
And that covers all the bait stations. That's just for the municipal center.
Mhm.
Obviously, the 1870 isn't as bad. But Sandra's probably finding that out.
Yep.
And the only bad news I have really for the month is one of our full-time guys just handed in his 2-week notice. So his last day is actually going to be July 22nd because he's going to move on. His father-in-law is buying a dump truck and wants him to drive it. So we'll be short another guy for a little while.
Which guy was that, Brad?
Matt Texera.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to see him go.
Yeah, me too. He's a hard worker. I was proud of him when he got his plumber's license. I actually thought he was going to go that route, but he doesn't want that. But it's too bad. Hopefully we can get someone to fill his shoes. And I just want to take a minute to thank Margaret for actually giving me the chance and what little bit of time I've been here, everything you taught me. Every time we had a meeting and you came out with something weird, I had to research it because I had no idea what it was. I've never met anyone that could just spit something out of the top of her head where it came down to like sections and people's jobs and what their thing is. It is just an amazing. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really going to miss it.
Well, Fred, I'm going to miss you too, and you are acing it. You are just going above and beyond in your work as highway and facility superintendent, and I'm very proud. I'm very proud of you and the strides you've made.
I appreciate that.
Thanks.
That is all I have for this evening. And I will let you know about that interview for Wednesday.
Sounds good. And remember, I'm always just a phone call away.
Oh, believe me, I'll use that.
Chris, Peg, questions?
Oh,
Go for it, Peg.
Not a question, Fred, it's a compliment. I've driven by the cemeteries in town and the two folks that you have doing the seasonal work, they look fabulous for
Excellent.
that. So I just wanted to say, thank you. You make the town shine. Appreciate it.
excellent. I will pass that along to them.
That's it.
Is that it? Good. Well, thanks, Fred. We'll let you get back to other stuff there.
Great. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Night, Fred.
Let's see, I think that brings us to old business. Fiscal year 22 year-end transfers. Go for it,
So,
Margaret.
I apologize for the late notice on these, but you have two, and we are really down to the wire now. So I'm gonna go over the two of them with you. The first one is from Police Department. They are looking to do an end of year account transfer for $4,000 from police wages full-time to police wages part-time. The chief underestimated the amount that was needed, and this will close that gap. If the board has any questions, I believe Eric's in the audience also. And then the other one is actually a request for a transfer from the FY21 encumbered contingency line item. And this is specifically due to COVID. I used Amy, our accounting clerk, to help with the reporting requirements. She actually compiled all the spreadsheets for our COVID expenditures. And unfortunately, FEMA is may only repay a portion of what we paid. So I am looking to transfer $1,591.83 from the FY21 encumbered contingency line item. And that would go over to the Coronavirus Relief Fund Municipal Program account in order to zero it out, close it out, and send Massachusetts back their remaining balance.
So I would make a motion to approve both of the FY, are they both FY22?
No, the one is
Mm,
FY21
FY21.
contingency.
Okay, then the FY21 and the FY22 year-end transfers as recommended by the town administrator.
Second,
Is there any more discussion? They both seem pretty straightforward from my standpoint. I think then we're ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Keefe,
Stone Eye.
Great. I can tell you when I first saw this agenda item, I thought select was just select, but misspelled. But no, it is the select letter of intent for power purchase agreement at the highway barn.
Yes.
This
And
is-
so
ahead.
I have put a draft in the board's folder, and this is a power purchase agreement that came from Select. Beth Greenblatt, our consultant, has reviewed it and redlined it. And I have sent that off to town council for review and comments, and invited town council to have a conference call with Beth and me. If the board, I know the board has already approved moving forward with this, but if the board would like to approve the letter of intent for the power purchase agreement, I would advise that you do so subject to town council review and comments.
would you like that motion, Scott?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the select letter of intent with the caveat that the town council has a chance to review.
Stone Eye.
I think that's officially a second by Stone, but we'll take it as a vote too. I think it looks fine too. So Hawkins, aye.
Keefe,
And then
Stone Eye.
just maybe just say second at that point, then we'll just edit it and switch those two out. Good. I'm looking forward to this as it moves forward to get solar panels on that highway barn.
Mhm.
yeah.
ARPA funding discussion.
Okay, so I actually uploaded the spreadsheet. I told the board that I would show a spreadsheet of ARPA project uses and balances, and here it is. This is what we have at the moment. These are the committed amounts so far. So we've received our first tranche of funds. That's $484,229. And the only committed costs are those shown in this column right here, leaving a balance of $358,224. And this is a reminder that the town has until December 31st of 2024 to commit the funds. And again, you've already committed them, the projects aren't completed, but we have until December 31st of 2026 to expend the funds. So there's no great urgency in this. It's best that you vet all the projects and determine their eligibility for ARPA funding. And just also know that we have requested but have not yet received our second half of the ARPA revenue replacement funds. So that will also be in the amount of $484,229. So you still have what, $800,000, 900.
At least 350, likely
Yep. Yep.
900, yes.
So yeah, so you're in good shape, and you can, and you know, you do have time to vet these projects.
Mhm.
I will stop sharing now so you can talk.
Right. I just, although we did solicit sort of ideas for ARPA funding back earlier this spring and have a list that could spend all that money and more if we ultimately move forward in all of them. I also want to make sure that as good ideas come up, I mean, that we have still been adding. I want to make sure we're not telling people that if they have this incredible idea that fits things, that for some reason we can't just add them to the list. And again, this is still a list of ideas, not necessarily a list of things that are going to get approved. But I think, Peg, you've been doing a decent job of when we get emails along those lines, adding them to that. So I don't want to discourage people from sending things in, even if we had a April or so deadline for the first round of requests, because we sort of don't spend this because we think there might be better options at some point, but and so I don't want to then discourage but it might be better ideas.
So can we make a practice of, you know, if one of us comes up with a good idea, that we just bring it to the board and you know, make
Right,
sure we
because-
all know about it?
Well, at least we all know about it. I also think that I don't think town staff are spending any time on any of these until we like move them on to whatever the next stage might be. I think volunteers are allowed to do whatever they want with their own time because we can't control any of that. And I think some volunteers have actually started putting a lot of I's dotting and T's crossed and getting something that has gotten, you know, bids or something, at least a little bit more realistic numbers than some of the back of envelope, you know, gut numbers that are in the spreadsheet right now. And I applaud some of that as well.
Scott, I appreciate you clarifying that people can still submit project ideas, because that was something that I was unclear on. You know, I thought that the deadline was the deadline. So it's good that you've clarified that.
Are there sort of any sort of ready for, because I think some are getting close. I think Peggy wanted something about the 1870 septic to approve some funds potentially to move that along a little bit further.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of movement on it. I emailed Evan Carloni today, and he's still waiting on some additional information from Bill Brookings from Board of Health. So we're kind of stuck a little bit there. And I haven't bothered Fred. I do have the price of the doors that are needed here, the outside doors at the town offices, but I don't have the cost for installation rather. So given, you know, him bringing new people on, it's not like super critical. Oh my God. You know, he knows. So waiting on that. And I had thought about trying to get some quotes for ADA parking spots out at South Common, since, you know, the ball field is getting redone and the soccer field. But unfortunately, one company didn't call me back. One company I thought was a wee tad high for those. So I don't know if there are any other jobs within the town. I know, you know, there's an ongoing one for cemetery and paving the roads within, I think either the one on Pleasant Street or the one up at Highland. I know that there's still some stuff, you know, maybe to be done here. So I'm thinking that if we can maybe bundle, you know, requests for that. A company's just not going to come out and dump 2 parking spaces. Let's be honest about it.
Right.
But if there's an opportunity to do larger amounts of work, then maybe we could scoop that in as well. But that's really it. So I don't have any additional funding information on those 3.
The mold mitigation is not to a point where we don't even have a clue on what that's going to cost us yet. I don't think that one's ready. I think the only thing that I might have is that I think the line for Bullard House architectural draft RFP. I don't think we're gonna need ARPA funding for it. I think it looks like that there's at least enough money from already approved sources that can go to, I hate to put it on the unable to do because we're doing it, but not needing ARPA funding sort of.
Yeah, so maybe just lower on the priority list just to keep it kind of in the forefront.
Yeah,
The
put-
other
leave
one
it on
that, the other
town
one that could be
stewardship.
moved down would be the highway solar. Now that that's being pursued through a power purchase
Right.
agreement, that's right
Right.
above the Bullard House one.
Yep.
The only other one that could be active, and maybe we need to bring Victoria back. I think that she had talked to us a couple weeks ago regarding some additional services, that there was some money needed up front, and then there's the rest of the money needed at the end. You know, I don't know where we are
Mhm.
with that, what she's done. I know capital planning, they were supposed to meet, but they couldn't get a quorum. I looked today, they don't have anything on the calendar for that. So maybe it's a good time to bring Victoria in at an upcoming session just to talk to her and make sure that she goes and understands the process. You know, Margaret, thank you for sending over the gobs of paperwork for CPC. And I know that Anna has been extremely helpful to me as I've looked at it and called her up and went, now what am I supposed to do with this? So, you know, kudos to Anna, you know, for CPC to try and help us get the information that we need.
Right. You know, there's definitely some on the list that I've advocated before, but I'm personally sort of waiting to hear more about the repeaters and radios for, and fiber optics for emergency call service, because I have stuff that'd be nice for the town, but that, you know, town safety, I think definitely comes first. I know there's potentially some funds for some of that. I don't think it's all going to come from ARPA, but I'd hate to have that sort of project get delayed because they don't have money to get it started, or the down payment or something like that.
As of this morning, Eric was waiting for one more quote, and he says they're coming in at about 30. I think they would top off at $35,000. So as soon as he gets that last quote, we could then move forward on it.
And then Margaret, for the physical plant, I never can remember the name. Have our buildings looked at about whether or not they're good for us and whether or not they should be taken care of.
So I'm in the midst of doing the RFP, and I have not an RFP, it's an it's a request for qualifications actually for under designer services. So I have a question for the board. I'm in the midst of preparing the that RFQ right now. Does the board, would you like to see an assessment of all of the municipal buildings, like the major municipal buildings, including the new highway barn, the Berlin Public Library? This building I know would be in it, but are you interested in looking at all of them? Because you know, in order to help with a 10-year or longer capital plan, I just want to make sure that I have the full number of properties represented in this, so they can give us an accurate cost.
It probably wouldn't hurt. Unless you want to just consider the buildings that are remaining empty or something.
Yeah,
Peg, your thoughts?
And that's what I was going to ask. Focus definitely on Legion Hall. Focus on the barn that's down by the pond. Focus on the barn that's in the back that has the sand, and the other one. Focus on the old town barn to see what we could do. I think I'm more concerned about the empty ones, and A, if we need to keep them, B, what do we need to do with them to bring them up to code, C, how we could use them compared to, a building that's existing, like ours, like highway, like the library, town hall.
Could we get two different kinds of quotes perhaps from these people?
We could, and the only reason that I was thinking of putting them all, we could actually define the scope for each building, what we're looking for them to do at each building. This building currently sits unused, it's used for storage. The town is looking to find out whether or not it could be reused in a better way, or but I was thinking it's probably important to include the town offices and public safety, because of the mechanical systems. You know, there are some really, really big costly items here that we want them to take a look at. So we can kind of determine what goes on the capital plan in the future, because we're not planning on moving from here.
I also think what is the best use of that building? There's also a lot of empty space in that building, you know? Is it worthy of
Yeah,
putting in the
so-
energy to finish off that second floor space above public safety?
Or what other?
I think potentially like,
Or,
I mean, my gut tells me we should include all buildings, but then again, you know, spending money to tell us that Berlin Elementary School should be used as an elementary school, it's probably best used as an elementary school, is probably not worth a lot of extra value to us.
And they've had their
Um,
own assessment done, so that's
right.
definitely not being included, but
Right.
we could, maybe I could
But I want
structure
the
it.
two like old fire stations on West to be included, even though there's things in them right now, because again, I think there could be better uses of those buildings because we're using them sort of as storage. They're not designed for that. I still think at some point spending money to, you know, rebuild the interior so they're designed for storage and we can get more stuff into them if that's what we're going to do with them. Or, you know, if tearing them down so fire has access directly to Route 62 is best use, then, you know, we can do that. You know, there's all kinds of, you go around town and ask 10 people on what those two buildings should be done for, and you get 15 different answers. So,
So
right,
here's what I could do. I could structure it in such a way as to create a few alternatives. That
Mhm.
way we could, once we get the qualifications, the statement of qualifications and the price estimate, we could actually, you know, kind of pick and choose and build the assessment ourselves. So that's what I'll plan to do. And that way the board can choose which ones stay and which ones go.
are there others that people want to push forward or push back?
Margaret, this is kind of funny. This is probably the quietest anyone will ever hear me in a select board meeting, only because, you know, Mrs. Nardowitz is right around the corner and I don't want feedback. Yeah, I know. I'm sure it's, you know, not even high on your list, but Margaret, where are we in the terms of cleanup status? And do I still get to keep my red can of red spray paint and throw things out the window?
We're having a department head meeting tomorrow morning and Fred is technically on vacation. But I might just send him an email and say, look at this after this week. We're at the point now where on Wednesday, I plan on actually going down to the hearing room and making a list of things that they're going to be gone. We're going to get rid of them because we are actually cleaning out. I also have to talk with Fred and Peg. I have not scheduled this. And again, he's on vacation, but we need to get into the old fire station and bring a dumpster over and clean out some stuff up there too.
I'll put on gloves and help.
I would if I could walk better.
Right.
Oh,
I've carried a lot into that building.
oh,
Now you can carry it out.
I don't think so. I think most of the stuff I've carried in is actually worthy of potentially saving, but I have seen areas where we've not been able to store things because there's things that just don't seem to make sense for us to be holding on to.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to send a last chance alert to groups that have things in that building. Okay. Yeah, so I'm in the midst of doing that. And you mentioned the old fire station and other reuses for that building. So I'm actually I've actually completed a draft IFB for the town offices roof, and I've included the old fire station roof as an additional project in that, just to see what the cost would be for a flat roof. It may be that we don't move forward with that one quickly, but I mean, there is an active leak there. So it'll be interesting to see how much it costs if we can bundle those two projects.
Yes, Becky.
So I know that there was some email going back and forth. Where are we with the status of who owns the fire truck and who owns the ambulance? Isn't it going to continue to sit in there and rust, or are we going to get rid of it?
I actually have some thoughts on that I want to talk with the fire chief about, and I will certainly share with the board. There might be a way that the town can assure that those are restored and preserved for a long time without investing town funds. So I will reach out to the board separately, and I'm going to talk to Chief Clark to see if there would be any interest in doing something like this. And by the way, that would include something with Legion Hall as well. So I will
Yep.
send you something.
The belief is though at this point is that both the 1940 something or other truck and the not truck are both town property, correct?
That is the belief. And I think because, you know, the donation of the not truck might have been a handshake kind of deal. So it might be that we just get a statement or a letter from the family of the donors and just memorialize the fact that it has been donated to the town.
Yep. We're ready to move on to entertainment licenses.
No, I've got a couple of days left. If you would just give me just a couple of days, I'll see if I can, you know, just, I want to pare down some of the verbiage because I really, really, really want people to read it and I want it to be simple. And I know Peg and Chris, you've worked on it and I just haven't had a chance to do more. So just give me
I'm fine with
a couple of
that.
days. That's all I've got.
Somehow on the agenda, we don't have town administrator report.
Oh, yeah, we forgot that.
Can I do my report under public comment though?
Or there are boards, questions, comments, and liaisons, and one of us just says, Margaret, what does your last couple of days look like? Or what is your work plan for the next couple of days?
Okay.
We'll do that under boards, questions, comments, and liaison updates. Let's finish new business. Recreation Committee Special Municipal Employee Designation Request and a disclosure of financial interest for Julie Lee.
Julie emailed me, I think, this past week, or she called me or something and said the Recreation Committee is meeting in a couple of weeks. So I don't think they've discussed it yet. So I'm afraid this is going to have to hold.
Okay. We gotta burn through things fast here. The appointment of Tim Wysocki to the Energy Committee, terms through 5/31/23.
I would make that motion to appoint Tim to the Energy Committee through 5/31/2023.
Second,
Thank you very much, Tim, for stepping up. I think it'll be a great addition. Hawkins, aye.
Keefe, aye.
Stone Eye.
Board questions, comments, and liaison updates. If I could start, which I don't normally do, and say, hey, Margaret, what does your last couple of days look like and what's left on your to-do list? And what are we pushing off?
Okay, so IFBs, we have IFBs on the roofs. So this roof and the old fire station roof. I've also done one for road materials and resurfacing. That's going to be almost $500,000 value. So I've drafted that one. I'm working on the facilities assessment. The procurements were the big ones that I wanted to start really rolling out. Julie said, as far as the recreation court upgrades, Julie said the recreation committee is going to meet in a couple of weeks and come up with some photos and things. I had drafted that IFB a while ago and just left blanks where they really should be putting in more details about the project itself. So they'll be working more on that. I do have a request or recommendation that Mary Arata be allowed to take the training for Mass Certified Public Procurement Officer. So I think that would greatly assist the town if she could absorb some of that work. And I should also say that Tim Wheeler and I are doing interviews for the Community Preservation Act or Community Preservation Committee assistant position, which is like 6 hours a week. That position is also going to be expected to take MCPPO training. That position will be able to take on some of the CPA major project procurement. So if we can get Mary trained and that person trained, it should help alleviate some of the burden on the town administrator. So there is money budgeted in the select board expense line this year, enough to cover the cost, but I am going to bring this item to the finance committee and make the same recommendation, alerting them that it may require reserve fund transfer later in the year in order to cover that training. let's see, what else do we have? Just a note that River Bridges Boundless Adventures calendar year 2020 payment is due this Friday, July 15th. And then the last thing I have is that the Town Administrator Screening Committee is actually conducting interviews tonight and tomorrow night. And depending on what they come up with as far as candidates, the board could technically be ready to do final interviews as early as next week or the 25th. So it's moving.
Right. I muted to
Have I
cough.
not mentioned something that, yes, okay, so I have sent the shared, I'm looking at my list right now. I have sent the shared bucket truck intermunicipal agreement with Clinton over to Clinton for their review. I have not heard back from him, so I'll poke, that's the town administrator there, I'll poke him and see if we can get that back here. And I am hopefully going to have a final version of the Berlin Memorial School lease agreement ready for the school district's review and the board's review so that a final can be executed. Finally.
Would you like me to go next?
Sure, they're just questions for just Margaret on her report before we move on to, yes,
Go
go ahead.
Do you want to do questions for Margaret first?
Yeah, question for Margaret's first, and then we'll go
Okay.
on to our other update.
Margaret, can you give a status of where we are with the earthworks bylaw? I know that there was some discussion that the Attorney General would probably whap it down and not have it, but that's just something that's been sitting around for years that I'd love to try and get a definitive answer one way or another.
I'm not sure if I mentioned this at a prior select board. I might have mentioned this, but we found that the town of Middleborough had actually adopted a town meeting adopted a Board of Health regulation that prohibited the import of contaminated soils. And I haven't had a chance to talk with anybody in Middleborough yet, any of the town officials. But my guess is that they adopted the Board of Health regulation at town meeting to formalize a regulation without having to seek Attorney General bylaw approval. So I think this could be an effective way for the town to move forward with putting some prohibitions on the import of soil. It doesn't. The bylaw, their bylaw itself does not limit regular earth material, but it prohibits import of contaminated soils.
Kristen, board updates and liaison updates.
Yep, this is, I'm not really the liaison to the planning board. I don't know if anybody else attended the meeting, but I did on June 28th. And just a quick overview of the property on West Street, the one that sells Christmas trees or used to sell Christmas trees at Christmas. The family that has the older home, I think it's across from Lynn Ryan's house. And I can't remember the family's name. But anyway, that house, I believe, went into foreclosure. And then they have new owners, and they were at the planning board seeking information from the planning board on what they could do with the property, which I think they're just going to continue to look for further information on uses. Hang on a second. Oh, good. My husband answered it. Then the planning board also had the contractor's yard at Solomon Pond Mall. And they had, of course, the contractor, Jason Shelley Clark from the mall, and Paul McKinley from Westman and Sampson, who would be the LSP, who would be testing the incoming soil that would be stored there if this ends up being a go. That hearing was continued to July 12th at 8 o'clock. Because it was past my bedtime at that point, and the next hearing was at 9:30. John Campbell came in to talk about the sign for the school. And this is just some of the things that I learned from watching this afternoon, that, you know, the blinky signs that we have in town also do not go by the bylaw. So one of the planning board members suggested that at some point, maybe the select board might want to consider something else instead. That aside, one of the suggestions also was that the town could put up the school sign and lease it to the school as perhaps part of the Berlin Memorial lease. So it would be our sign, but they could lease it. And Eloise did pipe up and make mention that energy efficiency is important to the Energy Committee. Those were just some of the important things that I thought the board might want to know. I did find it this afternoon. That's why I ended up watching it. So that's all I've got.
Good. Peg?
Short list, so no energy. So, you know, I'm grateful that Tim will be coming back into play. I know he was on it before. He did a great job at it. There has been some concern about the person who is currently the chair is definitely still wanting to be an active participant, but can't act in chair capacity. So I'm hoping that that will boost energy to, you know, get going. Concom, I missed the last meeting, so I'll need to go back, take a look at the video, see what's up. Rec, you all know that we're waiting on Earthworks. Margaret answered for me. What I'll do on the ARPA stuff is that I'll go back and I'll take the sheet that I had sent you guys. I'll take Margaret's sheet and I'll just, you know, maybe come up with another tab, you know, to move, you know, Scott, either items for the bullet house or communication again, just so that we can clean it. And, you know, I'm happy to keep dropping items there, and that's why I did it. You know, it was no intention to say, oh, these rise to the top. It was, we're going to lose sight of it. So that's why it was just like plunk, 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 plunk.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And ADA grants, they're coming back around in August. I know last time I wrote a bunch of them, but again, because Berlin is so tiny compared to other communities that are so big, you know, I'll start looking for someone who can potentially help me and beef up the narrative to try and make Berlin a little bit more needy than what we are, because we really haven't done anything with that ADA study, and we are just so sorely behind, whether it's this building or any other building in town, or not even a building. I mean, go to the transfer station. Is there an ADA parking spot? No, for that. So I'll be working on those over the next couple months. Actually, Margaret, oh, she's looking at someone. You were the ADA person, so I really can't go forward with that until we have a new ADA person in place, correct?
That is correct. So the board should appoint a temporary ADA coordinator. I think you can do it on a temporary basis. That's fine. Yeah.
Meaning Peg could do it on a temporary basis?
Well,
but
that's up to the board. But I would recommend that the new town administrator take on that role when they start. And you know, I can still be available in case there are any little things, but again, I'm only going to be here for temporary basis. So yeah, I would suggest appointing someone as a temporary ADA coordinator.
I'll check on the dates when they're due. I don't know. I think it just might be a little suspicious, because I think I have to put my name in as the submittor of the ADA request. So it might look kind of funny if I'm the submittor and I'm also the approver. But let me do a little bit of digging on last year's stuff and see what I have. And then in our next meeting, you know, I can give it to you in like 25 words or less. I'm done.
And I have been out of town from the end of the last meeting until late yesterday, so I have not done much of anything. It's interesting that now all my vacations now necessarily start on Tuesdays and end on Sundays. Are there other questions for Margaret, other presentations to make? I believe we have an executive session scheduled for tonight.
Should be very brief.
And
There are
so we're gonna have to read something, don't we? The board will enter executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A. Reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and or litigation of if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public, and the chair so declares, which I believe I am declaring, so that we can discuss something related to the Berlin Firefighters Union. And we also might meet for reason 7 to approve some executive session minutes as well. I think that we have to take a roll call vote to enter executive session, correct? So Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
Stone, who can get herself off mute, aye.
And then we will come back to regular session just to adjourn. We are back in executive session. Before we adjourn, one more chance at asking questions and select board comments.
Yes, obviously, my notes were a little discombobulated today. Margaret, you had mentioned that the folks were meeting down the hall for the TA. If they do come back, I'm going to assume to you an MRI this week. Scott, when you make the agenda, is there any possibility that we could meet off schedule next week to do in-person interviews?
I think that'd be a great idea. It's on my list of things I forgot to raise too. It's like, because I made the note, I try to keep the future agendas up on the screen up there. So when say, oh, next time we meet, we should do X.
Yeah.
I pop it on then so that we don't forget about those things. And I did put on potential interview in 2 weeks for it, but I am open to actually, provided our scheduled work, to have a meeting at any time in the next couple of weeks. That if the remaining candidate can only make a Thursday night, and for some reason all 3 of us are free on Thursday night, and we have enough time to post it for a Thursday night, I'd be open for that even.
Margaret, do you know when you'll hear from them?
I would hear, they're doing the second round tomorrow night. So my hope is that I would hear from them late tomorrow night or early Wednesday morning. So I would ask the board to come up with 2 or 3 questions each for each of the finalists. You're going to need a little bit of time to have the application materials sent to you, so you have a chance to look at it before you interview them.
Do we have a scheduled meeting next week?
We do not.
Okay. I'm only looking day at a time here.
Yep. No, that's fine. And I think, if they're finishing Tuesday night, the odds that we can get the materials from the recommended candidates and put everything together for the following Monday, I think would be tight as it is right now. But I will reach out and see what our schedule is like once we hear back. Margaret, if you or June is filling in starting as of Friday, and so you or June, and then I need to reach out to June also and make sure that she is ready for agenda setting a week from Thursday as well, if we don't do something prior to that. Just back.
Speaking of that, June, we already know that personally she has stuff going on.
Yep.
It's end of year madness that she's experiencing right now. Margaret, do you have any guidelines, suggestions on what we could do to kind of help temper the, oh my God, the sky is falling, June needs to act on this, immediately, as you step out?
June has made clear that she will be available for urgent issues and obviously for something like agenda setting and things like that, but she would be available for urgent, like emergencies. So what I would suggest, I think a simple communications protocol would be best. If there's something that's really urgent that comes through the board's office, Mary, I would suggest that if it's that urgent, that you reach out to Scott as soon as possible, or to the entire board and June together if there's something that's really urgent that can't wait. And so hopefully we can try to keep non-urgent emergency or non-emergency matters off her plate as much as possible.
And I know that this is nitpicky, but Is there any way, Margaret, that you could try to define what urgent and emergency is? Because I may think that I have a super duper important, oh my God, answer this right now issue. And somebody looks at it and goes, go away.
Okay, so I would say that an emergency issue is something that absolutely can't wait. So it might be a matter of public safety, public health. Maybe a time, maybe even something like a timing for an important report submission. If there is a deadline that is today, tomorrow, we'd certainly want to know about that. So I would put those things in the urgent category.
And then we did sort of authorize extra hours if necessary for June and Amy to help get through some of this time too.
I know, but I want to be careful too, because they're already on overload with all this stuff, and I'm concerned that, you know, the proverbial one more stone is going to that, and at this point in time, we can't afford to lose anybody else, you know, within the town. So I'm hoping that in the time between, you know, Margaret leaves and is available for some questions, she's busy doing the Queen wave. Honest to God, I can just see her out of the corner of my eye. You know, that we can, yeah. See, this is why Peg shouldn't come down to the board's office and have the meeting down here. And I've totally lost my train of thought. No, but I want us to try and help and come up with something to do for Amy and everybody else in June and everybody else down that hallway between the time that Margaret's gone for 2 weeks and totally out of pocket and when she's back for minimal. I just don't want anybody or commissions or committees or departments to try and take advantage of that and push
Right.
something through.
Well, and to be clear, when Margaret is back, she is finishing off things that are already on the list. We are not
Correct.
giving her a new assignment. She is not responding to new emails on new topics. That really, that is a limited basis to wrap up things that are already on the agreed list.
Agreed.
Okay.
Are there other things? Hopefully we get in good shape so that we can potentially meet. We do have open meeting law. Potentially we have problems with Zoom meetings starting Friday.
Thank you very much for bringing that up, because in typical legislature fashion, they have not passed the legislation yet. This happened when we had our first COVID virtual meeting extension. So they're waiting until the very last minute. So as it stands right now, any meetings that happen this Friday and beyond would have to be in person, posted in-person meetings. The minute we hear something, we could then look 48 hours out and go back to the way we've been doing things. But for now,
Can you post in person?
with
And
Zoom as a backup.
yes,
Yes, that
Okay.
you can. Yes, but it would be posted as Zoom as a backup as a public courtesy. So at least you'd have a link there. Yes.
Okay. Are there other last minute things that we're all thinking about this week?
I'm just hoping I feel better next week so that if I
I
have to
hope
go
you
to
feel
an
better next
in-person
week as well,
meeting,
yes.
I can.
I hope so. Well, I hope that the legislature moves this week.
It's just, they have just no understanding of like their own rules that like, we have plenty of, we have people who want to meet next week and meeting in person or needing to find room or doing a Zoom changes,
Yeah, you've got
like childcare
351.
needs.
Yeah, you've got
and other things like
351
that.
cities and towns that don't know how they are going to be
Right.
working.
Right.
Chris,
Oh,
we'll get the town truck and we'll come by. We'll just throw you in the back and
All
bring you
right.
down to the offices, and then we'll bring you back home.
Monday's training for fire and rescue. They can practice transportations, you know? Okay, if there's not more things, then is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And seconded.
thank you again, board, and
Thank you
thank
again.
you,
Margaret, it's
townspeople.
been wonderful having
Farewell.
you as a town administrator. We will miss you tremendously.
Thank you.
You've left this place in a really good shape for whoever is about to follow.
Oh, thank you. And I'm only a phone call away. All right. Thank you all.
Hawkins, aye. Chris,
What's that?
voting to adjourn. Hawkins, aye.
P5.
Don't I?